G'day everyone. So in today's video I'm going to do something that I've always wanted to try, and that's porting a head. So this is not a how-to video, it's the first time I've ever done it, and all the knowledge that I'm going to use I've gained from Google searches. Along with that too, I'm not going to dyno it, so any results that I get will be purely subjective. So anyway, I'm going to give it a crack. I'll bring you over here and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Alright, so if you have a look inside the exhaust port here, you'll see that the casting is pretty rough and there's a lot of ridges and steps in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a die grinder and I'm going to smooth all of that out, taking as little material as possible. I'm just going to blend that transition into the port. Now I don't want to remove too much material because I want to maintain velocity in the port. So velocity through the port is volume over cross-sectional area. So if you increase the cross-sectional area, you'll reduce the velocity, and we want to avoid that. So that's the exhaust port. So you can see the intake port is a lot better, but there is still these ridges and a few little steps in it. So I'm going to do the same here. So apparently you want to avoid making this too smooth because the roughness of the port aids in atomization of the fuel. And if you smooth it out, you'll end up with fuel pooling in around here. And obviously that's not a good thing, so we'll avoid that. One other thing that I thought I was going to do is do a bit of port matching to the rubber intake boots. However, they did a really good job at the factory and they're bang on, so I'm not even going to touch that. Alright, so to do this job, I've got my electric die grinder and an assortment of carbide bits. Ideally, I would have liked an air die grinder and I would have gone out and bought one, but we're in yet another bloody lockdown, so I'm stuck at home working with what I've got. The main concern I've got with this one is it's got 2 speeds, going and stopped, and it's quite powerful, so I'm going to have to be really careful. But we'll get there. Let's get into it. So I'll try and show you where I've actually removed some material. All in around there, you can see it's a lot smoother than it was before. Same on this side. You can see I clipped the edge of the valve guide there, but it doesn't actually affect it because it's not the part that the valve goes through, so that should be fine. Now, up in under here, you can see it, there's a bit of a ridge there as well, so I'm going to very carefully try and take that off. From memory, messing with that radius there can really stuff things up, so I'm going to be very careful when I do that. I'm not going to mess with that anymore. All right, I'm going to call that the exhaust's done. I'll move on to the intakes. Just for a little comparison. So that's that side. I know there's a pretty definitive line there, but it's actually pretty blended, as opposed to this one, where that line is actually a pretty decent ridge. So that's all I've done. I've just gotten rid of that. So I'll do the same there. That's a lot better. It is a real pain in the ass to actually show you what's going on here because the light's terrible. And getting this thing to focus isn't easy. But yeah, you can see that. Once again, you can see a pretty definitive line, but it's pretty well blended. I run my finger over it and I can barely feel it. And I've maintained a bit of that roughness as well, so fuel atomization should be fine. Alright, so there you have it. That was my first attempt at porting a head. Hopefully it flows a little bit better, but we'll see once the engine's together. The next thing I'm going to do to this head is recut the valve seats because they weren't looking too pretty, but I'll leave that to the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you got something out of it. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.